Ozzy, the Prince of
Sharon!
Darkness Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne's story has been told more times than a riff from Paranoid has been played. Every book, every documentary, every half-whispered story tried to capture him. John Michael Osbourne, the boy from Aston who became the Prince of Darkness. And here I am, adding my voice to that chorus. Not because I think I can tell it better, but because for so many of us, Ozzy wasn't just a rock star. He was our rock star. And whose heart we all saw, even through the mess. He wasn't perfect. He did some truly shitty things. And he'd be the first to admit it. But we also watched him try to change, over and over again. We saw him fight his own worst instincts, fall down, get up, and keep walking towards something better. We saw the love in him, sometimes hidden under layers of madness, sometimes blazing out so bright you couldn't miss it. For those who never got to meet him in person, for those who never got to scream yourself hoarse at the barrier, or feel the heat vibrations of the music creeping up your legs and shake the air around you, for those who still can't quite imagine a world without him. This is my tribute to a once-in-a-lifetime icon we all shared, who somehow made each of us feel like he was singing just to us. I'll try to honor his life without drowning in repetition. This is for anyone who still needs to see the human behind the myth, and for everyone who knows that the Prince of Darkness was, in the end, just a man from Birmingham who found a way to turn pain into power. December 3rd, 1948. In a cramped two-bedroom house at 14 Lodge Road, Aston, Birmingham, John Michael Osbourne entered the world, the fourth of 6 children born to toolmaker Jack and factory worker Lillian. The nickname Ozzy began as playground cruelty, a taunt derived from his surname, but he wore it like armor until it became his battle cry. In productions like The Mikado and HMS Pinafore, the shy, stammering boy with the thick Brummy accent found his voice. Everything shifted when 14-year-old Ozzy heard The Beatles' She Loves You on the radio. It was spiritual, he'd recall. As soon as I heard it, I knew I wanted to be a rock star. His first band, Rare Breed, gave way to Polka Tulk Blues, then Earth, before morphing into Black Sabbath in 1968. With Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, Ozzy tapped into something darker than blues or psychedelia. Inspired by horror films, occult imagery, and the industrial grind of Birmingham, they accidentally invented heavy metal. Sabbath's debut album in 1970, recorded in a single day for 600 pounds, sounded like fear set to music. Later that year came Paranoid, with Iron Man, War Pigs, and the title track. Fame brought excess, and excess brought collapse. Alcohol and drugs blurred days into oblivion. Even as Master of Reality and Volume 4 cemented their status, Ozzy's erratic behavior strained the band. By April 1979, his addictions had made him unreliable. After 11 years as the voice of Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne was shown the door from the band he had helped create. Substance abuse ran through the group, but as Tony Iommi later reflected, Ozzy's struggles were on a different level altogether. His dismissal wasn't just professional, it was personal. The next 3 months became a haze of despair, self-destruction, and isolation. A period that could have ended the career of anyone else. Enter Sharon Arden, who saw potential where others saw ruin. She became his manager, pushing him back into the studio and reawakening the music he had buried under years of abuse. With her unwavering support, Ozzy released Blizzard of Oz, launching a solo legacy that would endure for decades. Beyond business, Sharon became his wife and partner, standing by him through addiction, scandal, and struggle. She wasn't just his manager, she was the force that brought the Prince of Darkness back from the brink, a steadfast ally who helped shape the legend we know today. Blizzard of Oz wasn't just a comeback, it was rebirth. Randy Rhoads' classically influenced guitar work fused perfectly with Ozzy's raw power. Randy was born on December 6, 1956, in Santa Monica, California, the son of Dolores Rhoads and Irish-born William Rhoads. A child prodigy on guitar, he studied classical techniques while absorbing the power and showmanship of rock. When Sharon introduced Randy to Ozzy, the chemistry was immediate. Blizzard of Oz and its follow-up, Diary of a Madman, showcased Randy's intricate soaring solos, giving Ozzy a sound that was both electrifying and timeless. Touring brought its share of chaos and legend. The infamous bat incident, when Ozzy bit the head off what he thought was a rubber bat on stage, cemented his reputation as the unpredictable Prince of Darkness. But behind the theatrics, tragedy struck too soon. On March 19, 1982, during the North American tour, Randy, Rachel Youngblood, the band's seamstress and caretaker, and pilot Andrew Aycock died when the small plane Aycock was flying crashed into a house in Leesburg, Florida. Investigations later revealed Aycock had an expired pilot certificate and had been using cocaine the night before, making the accident a devastating combination of error and fate. Randy was only 25. He was laid to rest at Mountain View Cemetery in San Bernardino, California. His gravesite, adorned with flowers, guitars, and messages of remembrance, became a quiet pilgrimage for fans who never stopped mourning the brilliant young guitarist who had reshaped heavy metal. Ozzy, devastated by the loss, often spoke of the profound impact it had on him, describing the void left by Randy's death as irreplaceable. Yet, even in grief, the music carried on. Randy's influence remained etched into Ozzy's sound, a reminder of both the heights of creativity and the fragility of life on the road. Bark at the Moon, 1983, showcased Jakey Lee's ferocious guitar work, while Zakk Wylde would later join Ozzy, bringing his signature thunderous riffs to No Rest for the Wicked, 1988, shaping the sound of subsequent albums and solidifying his solo identity. No More Tears, 1991, delivered enduring classics, including Mama, I'm Coming Home. By the turn of the millennium, Ozzy's story reached an entirely new audience. MTV's The Osbournes, 2002 to 2005, transformed him into a household name, exposing a side of Ozzy the world had rarely seen. Viewers met the bewildered but loving father, the eccentric husband, and the man whose delight in the smallest things could be almost childlike. But the cameras also recorded subtle warnings, slurred speech, tremors, and moments of confusion. Those glimpses of vulnerability had first appeared on camera long before any official announcement. It wasn't until 2019 that Ozzy confirmed what fans had long suspected. These glimpses of frailty were early signs of Parkinson's disease. Even in the face of a diagnosis that could have dimmed any other career, he approached it with honesty and grit. Yet retreat was never in his nature. In 2020, he returned to the studio to record Ordinary Man, an album both reflective and unapologetically alive. The Prince of Darkness, now confronting his own mortality, remained fiercely himself, candid, raw, and remarkably human. Recognition followed naturally. In 2024, Ozzy Osbourne entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, a formal acknowledgement of a life lived at full volume, of a career that had weathered addiction, tragedy, and illness, yet still inspired millions. Even at this late stage, the Prince of Darkness refused to fade quietly. One of his final performances was a reunion with the original Black Sabbath lineup at Villa Park, where 45,000 fans gathered to honor the man who had defined a genre. Perched on a bat-winged throne, for fans, it was also a historic homecoming. On July 22, 2025, John Michael Ozzy Osbourne passed away at his home, surrounded by his family, only 17 days after the Back to the Beginning farewell concert. At 76, his life was claimed by cardiac arrest, coronary artery disease, and complications from Parkinson's disease. On July 30, 2025, thousands of fans gathered in Birmingham to bid farewell. The funeral procession began at his childhood neighborhood of Aston, winding through the streets that had first heard the voice of a boy who would become the Prince of Darkness. At the forefront, the Boston Brass Band, a New Orleans-style brass ensemble from Birmingham, played with jubilant solemnity, their horns ringing out renditions of Black Sabbath and Ozzy's solo classics. As the procession moved, the pulse of the city seemed to match the music. Fans lining the roads sang along. When the cortege reached the Black Sabbath bridge, the energy shifted. Part celebration, part hush. From a distance, it felt as though the streets themselves were holding their breath. Osbourne's family, wife Sharon, children Kelly, Jack, Amy, and Louie, paused to lay flowers and reflect on the tributes left by fans. Sharon, visibly trembling under the weight of loss, drew strength from her children and, in a moment that crystallized the bond between legend and city, lifted her hand in the iconic peace sign. The crowd erupted in unified chants. The following day, a private funeral was held at the Osbourne family's estate in Buckinghamshire. Ozzy was laid to rest beside a tranquil lake on the estate grounds, surrounded by family, friends, and the memory of a life lived at full volume. Rest well, Prince of Darkness. Subscribe to Remember at Evergreen Token. Thank you for watching.